Small minds build small cages, thinking they can contain greatness forever. They put up their walls and their rules, their expectations and their limitations. Don't dream too big, they say. Know your place, they warn. They create these perfect little boxes where they think you belong, decorated with their doubts and lined with their fears. But they made one crucial mistake. They thought the cage would break you. Instead, it taught you how to be free. Control is an illusion that shatters when its prisoner outgrows the prison. Every no they threw at you became fuel. Every door they closed showed you where to build your own windows. Every time they clipped your wings, they just gave you time to grow stronger ones. That's the thing about trying to cage someone's spirit. You can't. The more you squeeze, the more likely something is to break free. And what breaks free is always stronger than what was caged. Beneath their rules and restrictions, revolution was brewing. While they were busy playing warden, you were secretly becoming an escape artist. Every criticism they used to keep you down became a reason to rise up. Every doubt they planted grew into determination instead of defeat. Every chain they forged became another thing you learned to break. They thought they were building your prison. Turns out, they were building your launching pad. Inside the walls, they built around you. Strength grew like wildflowers through concrete. Each barrier they put up just gave you something new to climb over. Each lock they added taught you another way to pick it. Each guard they posted showed you another blind spot to exploit. The funny thing about cages, they only work if the prisoner accepts they're trapped. The moment you realize the bars are in your mind, freedom becomes inevitable. Power shifts quietly at first, like plates moving under the earth before a quake. One day, their threats don't scare you as much. Their disapproval doesn't sting like it used to. Their rules start to look more like suggestions. That's when they get nervous, when they realize the cage that used to hold you now looks more like a joke. When they see you eyeing those bars, not with fear, but with amusement. When they notice your wings have grown bigger than the space they tried to contain them in. Between their expectations and your reality, a gap grows wider each day. You start moving differently, speaking differently, dreaming differently. The cage they built, it starts feeling more like a cocoon, a temporary space where transformation happens. They wanted to keep you small, manageable, contained. Instead, they created the perfect conditions for metamorphosis. Every restriction became a reason to rebel. Every limitation, a lesson in breaking free. Through darkness and doubt, wings grow stronger than bars. That's the secret they never understood. Pressure either breaks things or turns them into diamonds. They bet on breaking you, but here you are, shining. All those nights they thought you were lying awake in defeat. You were actually planning your escape route. All those times they thought you were accepting your fate. You were testing your wings, finding your strength, preparing for flight. Yesterday's cage becomes tomorrow's launching pad when you learn how to use it right. Every restriction they placed on you became a lesson in creative freedom. Every "you can't" became a personal challenge. Every boundary they set became another limit to break. Now look at you, using their ceiling as your floor, their walls as your mirrors, their bars as your ladder. They built a cage, but you turned it into an observatory, a place to watch stars and plan your journey to them. Rising above their limitations feels like learning a new language, the vocabulary of freedom, the grammar of flight. At first, it's awkward, uncertain, full of mistakes. But then something clicks. You start thinking in this new language of possibility. They're old words. Can't, shouldn't, impossible. They stop making sense. You're speaking in cans and wills and watch me's. The cage they built? It's starting to look awfully small from up here. Now they're watching in confusion as you soar past every boundary they set. Their perfect little cage stands empty, a monument to their failure to contain something as wild as a free spirit. Let them stare. Let them wonder how their carefully constructed prison turned into your takeoff strip. They tried to write your story in iron bars and locked doors, but you rewrote it in open skies and endless horizons. Walls don't just block paths, they point to new directions. Every no you hear is really just a sign saying, try another way. When they tell you something's impossible, they're actually giving you a map of where to look next. Think about it. When someone says you can't do something, they're really telling you exactly what needs to be done. Your mind starts seeing differently when you treat problems like puzzles instead of prisons. That door they locked, maybe there's a window. That road they blocked, time to make your own path. That ceiling they built, looks like a pretty good floor for the next level. Every barrier they put up is really just pointing you toward your next breakthrough. It's like they're accidentally drawing you a treasure map, marking all the spots where possibility lives with their big red nose. Between the lines of "you can't" lies the secret path of "watch me." Those rules they made to hold you back, they're actually showing you exactly where the system is weak. Every time someone says, "that's not how it's done," they're really just admitting they haven't found a better way yet. And that's your cue, your invitation to innovate, to create, to prove that impossible is just a word used by people who stopped trying. Mountains standing in your way aren't walls. They're climbing gyms, training you to be stronger. Each problem they throw at you is really just life's way of asking, how bad do you want it? When they say you're not qualified, they're giving you a checklist of what to learn next. When they say you're not ready, they're showing you exactly where to focus your energy. Their limitations become your lesson plan. Their obstacles, your opportunity list. Pushing against boundaries teaches you exactly where they're weakest. Like water finding cracks in concrete, your determination starts seeking paths around every barrier. The more they try to contain you, the more creative you become. Each limitation forces you to think differently, to see angles you missed before, to discover strength you didn't know you had. Their attempts to restrict you just end up expanding your toolkit of solutions. Nothing reveals your true strength, quite like someone telling you what you can't do. Suddenly, you're not just solving a problem, you're proving a point. Every limitation becomes a personal challenge. Every obstacle an opportunity to show what you're made of. It's like they're accidentally setting up the perfect stage for your breakthrough performance, complete with an audience that doubted you could do it. Skills grow sharpest against the grinding stone of resistance. Each problem they present is like another weight added to your mental gym. Sure, it's heavy, but it's making you stronger. Their doubts become your dumbbells, their criticism, your cardio, their limitations, your lifting routine. They think they're wearing you down, but really, they're just helping you build muscle in places you never knew you had. Under pressure, diamonds form from what others saw as just rocks. That's what's happening every time they try to compress you into their box of what's possible. The more they squeeze, the more brilliant you become. Every limitation they enforce is like another facet being cut into your potential, making you shine brighter. They think they're diminishing you, but they're actually helping you crystallize into something far more valuable. Rising through restrictions feels like solving a puzzle that changes as you solve it. Just when you figure out one challenge, another appears. But here's the beautiful part. You're getting better at this game. Each problem makes the next one easier to crack. Your mind starts seeing patterns in the chaos, opportunities in the obstacles, stepping stones in the stumbling blocks. What used to look like a wall now looks more like a ladder. Pain strips away the masks we wear, the stories we tell ourselves, the fake smiles we put on for others. It's like being caught in a storm that washes off all your makeup, leaving only what's real. Those moments when you're on your knees, when everything you thought mattered is gone, that's when you discover who you really are. Not who you pretend to be at parties. Not who your Instagram says you are. Not who others want you to be. Just you, raw and real, facing yourself in the mirror with nowhere to hide. Life has a way of humbling even the proudest hearts. You start out thinking you've got it all figured out. Your 5-year plan, your perfect image, your carefully crafted persona. Then something breaks. A dream dies. A relationship ends. A failure hits so hard it knocks all your pretenses loose. And in that broken place, something strange happens. Without all those layers of fake perfection, you start feeling more authentic. Your laugh becomes more genuine. Your conversations go deeper. Your connections with others feel more real. Breaking apart isn't always about destroying. Sometimes it's about discovering what's beneath all those layers you built up. Like a sculptor chipping away at marble to find the masterpiece inside. Pain chips away at your false self to reveal something more genuine. Those sleepless nights when you questioned everything, they were actually introducing you to your real self. Those moments when you felt like you were losing everything, you were really just losing what was never truly yours to begin with. Deep wounds create deep wells of understanding. After you've been through your own storms, you start noticing the weather patterns in other people's eyes. You can feel the weight they carry because you've carried it too. Their pain makes sense to you because you remember how your own felt. Suddenly, you're not just living life. You're feeling it, understanding it, connecting with it on a level you never knew existed. Your broken places become windows through which you see others more clearly. Between who you were and who pain shaped you to be, there's a bridge built of broken dreams and rebuilt hopes. The person you were before wouldn't recognize you now, and that's okay. That old version of you was like a rough draft, full of fancy words but lacking substance. Pain edited your story, cut out the fluff, left only what was true and real. Now every word you speak carries weight, because it comes from a place of hard-earned wisdom rather than borrowed knowledge. Walking through fire changes more than just your direction. It transforms your very essence. Those goals that once seemed so important, now they look shallow, like toys you've outgrown. That image you tried so hard to maintain, it feels like an old costume that doesn't fit anymore. Instead, you find yourself drawn to deeper things. Real connections, genuine purpose, authentic expression. Your priorities shift from impressing others to impressing yourself with your own resilience. Underneath the surface of suffering, wisdom grows, like roots seeking water. Each setback teaches you something new about yourself. Each failure shows you what really matters. Each loss points you toward what truly needs to be found. The person who emerges from these lessons isn't just older, they're deeper. They don't just know more, they understand more. They don't just live, they feel alive with an intensity that only comes from having touched the bottom and chosen to rise. Scars tell stories of battles that made you better, not bitter. That heartbreak that felt like it would kill you. It taught you how to love more wisely. That failure that seemed like the end of the world. It showed you how to build something more solid. That loss that left you empty. It created space for something more meaningful to grow. Each wound became a well of wisdom. Each scar, a badge of learning. Each broken piece, a building block for something stronger. Yesterday's pain becomes tomorrow's teacher when you learn to listen to its lessons. The ego that once needed constant praise now finds peace in quiet accomplishment. The heart that once sought validation in others now finds it within. The mind that once raced with anxious thoughts now knows the value of stillness. These aren't just changes, they're evolutions, transforming you from someone who feared pain into someone who understands its purpose. Comfort feels like freedom until you try to move. That's when you hear it. The quiet rattle of chains you never knew were there. The job you hate but won't leave because it's stable. The relationship that's slowly killing your soul but feels safe. The dreams you've stopped chasing because they seem unrealistic. These chains are invisible until you try to break free from them. Like a bird that's lived so long in a cage, it forgets it has wings. But once you start moving, really moving, those chains make themselves known. Test your limits and watch how quickly people try to enforce them. The moment you start moving, really moving toward your dreams, watch how many concerned voices suddenly have opinions about your life. Watch how many people try to remind you of your chains, try to convince you they're actually protection, try to sell you on the benefits of staying still. Their reaction shows you exactly how free you could be if you keep moving. Through the fog of familiarity, movement creates clarity. Each step you take away from what's comfortable shows you another chain you didn't know was there. Each reach towards something better reveals another limitation you blindly accepted. Each leap toward freedom exposes another cage you thought was just the way things are. Like turning on lights in a dark room, movement shows you exactly what's been holding you back all this time. When they tried to cage you, they forgot one crucial thing. Cages only work on those who agree to stay still. The moment you decided to move, to grow, to reach beyond what was comfortable, those bars started looking less like protection and more like the prison they always were. Your movement became your freedom, your restlessness, your release. They tried to cage you, but by refusing to stay still, you discovered your chains were never as strong as your wings.